Back in September, the new history team had to tackle their very first task with very little knowledge of how to film or edit correctly and effectively.
Before I could even work a camera correctly, I kept turning it off instead of pressing record.
But now they can not only press record, but also do so much more. They've mastered panning, zooming, and a wide range of shots, from wide shots to extreme close-ups.
We can also set up the various equipment correctly and compose our very own original music.
For their very first task, the team only had to learn how to do and meet 3 simple requirements. These were match on action, shot reverse shot, and follow the 180-degree rule. It was difficult to meet these criteria with little experience, but they managed to do it successfully.
Now we know what the 180-degree rule, shot reverse shot, and match on action do to affect the film, and where and how to position the camera.
When they started the editing process, they needed help to open the program and didn't have any idea how to import key footage.
Now we know how Premiere Pro works, and we can successfully import footage, edit it skillfully, as well as use After Effects. We even made someone disappear for our film opening.
When they started, they knew next to nothing about conventions. Half the group barely even knew what conventions meant.
Now we all know a high number of conventions and what genre they belong to. We even know subgenre conventions.
Before and during the prelim task, New History only focused on presenting information in PowerPoints and posters. They didn't know of any websites which could be used to create more complex information presenting.
But now we have found a large variety of complex presentation ideas. We used Powtoons, Vlogs, Vcasmo, Prezi, and loads more.
In the preliminary task, they used no sound equipment or lighting. They simply relied on the camera for these and natural lighting. During the preliminary task, they only just struggled to use color correction, and they had no idea how to do special effects of any kind.
For our opening, we did many successful transitions. We learnt how to mask someone and then put a transition scene behind the mask. We learnt how to animate titles and make them appear as if they were underwater and add fractal noise.
For the preliminary task, the group simply took music soundtracks from YouTube to use as background music.
Now we know how to import sound, create our own original music using string program in GarageBand, and how to distort sound and add to the effect of the film. We also overlap different instruments at different points in the music. In our film opening, we learnt all about sound, lighting and camera work. We used a Marantz and a boom pole for the sound and noise effects. We also used LED lights, and we upgraded to a DSLR 700 camera. Camera work. Now we know a vast variety of camera work. We can even describe whether a certain frame is a shot, an angle, movement, or composition, as well as describing the technical element of the camera work. Shots can range from being extreme close-ups, which is focusing on one feature, for example, a shot of an eye, to establishing shots, which is a shot of the area to establish where the scene is set, to a 2-mid shot, a shot of 2 people from waist upwards. There are many angles which have different effects and usually have an opposite, such as high angles and low angles. A high angle is when the camera is above the subject, making it look smaller and not important, and even weak, whereas the low angle looks up from low on the ground, usually making the subject appear important and intimidating. There is also a point of view angle, which gives a first-person point of view to the audience. Angles also often tilt, creating a distorted feel. Movement is used in all kinds of film, and we know this and can now use it to our advantage, as the convention for our opening usually includes a lot of movement. Some examples of this are panning, tracking, and 360 turn. These are often used in thrillers to make the audience uncomfortable and to help create the right atmosphere. We now know about some composition shots. One of these is rule of thirds, which is where the audience's focus is pulled. We also used foreground to background shots that helps to change the focus for the audience. There are lots of editing techniques that we can complete well that we hadn't even heard of before. Cuts are used often and was one of the first techniques that we learnt, as the cut is used every 7 seconds on average and are used for many different reasons, such as to change the point of view, build up the image, or to change the scene. Continuity editing is something that we try to include the entire way through, with a lot of success. Some parts we had difficulty with though, such as the swing scene where Ellie disappears. The original editing techniques that we were going to use for this scene was a wipe, which is an effect which is a transition between two shots. But as we didn't have footage that matched up, it looked very noticeable, and we had to use After Effects in order to make the girl disappear. We also edited in a montage of the father and the daughter at the park by cutting in order to compress time. We also learnt about sound and how to add it in after, as well as what kind of sound it is that we used. For our opening, we used a lot of ambient sound to make the park and the house more realistic. We also found out what non-diegetic sound is and used it in our opening, as we recorded the girl's voice saying a phrase, and then we put it over a scene in the house, as well as a scene in the park.
I don't think it was the daddy. I don't think it was the daddy.
We also learnt how to create our own music on GarageBand for the opening, which we managed to do after many trial and errors.